Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's Dealer On webinar, Cutting Through the Advertising Bull, What Really Works. My name is Eliana Raggio, and I'll be your moderator today. And today's webinar is being presented by Dealer On. And for anyone who isn't familiar with Dealer On, well, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency, and we're best known for our SEO, our best-in-class customer service, and our award-winning website designs, including the newly launched Chameleon Responsive Website Platform. We're so committed to lead conversion, optimization, and customer service that Dealer On is still the only company in the industry to offer a money-back lead guarantee program. So, does your website company guarantee you a 50% lift in leads? Well, then maybe you should check us out at dealeron.com. And we have a great show in store for you today. We're very pleased to have Paul Caldwell as our presenter today. Paul Caldwell is the co-owner and partner of Moore Scarry Advertising. Hailed as the pioneers of digital advertising, Moore Scarry is the nation's largest Tier 3 automotive advertising agency with over 250 franchise dealerships across the country. Enjoying his 20th year in the business, Paul has served key roles in several automotive agencies, direct marketing shops, and media outlets. Prior to serving as co-owner of Moore Scarry, Paul was the Vice President of Sales at Haystack Digital Marketing, and he worked at other prominent companies too, such as McGee & Starr, Clear Channel, ABC, and Virtual Lending Source, along with owning a cluster of radio stations. As owner-partner of Moore Scarry, Paul's broad experience and insight into so many different dealerships from every type of market gives him a unique but focused perspective. He has the objectivity and expertise to know what works, what doesn't, and where a dealership should wisely invest their advertising dollars. Paul is a highly respected member of the automotive community, and he can be reached at pcaldwell@mooreandscarry.com. Now, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature located on the corner of your screen to submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, don't worry, we're going to respond to you by email later today. Also, don't forget, a link to download a copy of this webinar recording is also going to be emailed to you later today. For your reference, please feel free to share it with lots of your friends and colleagues. And I also want to let you know, Dealer On is going to be at the upcoming Digital Dealer 17 on September 23, 24, and 25 in Vegas, baby. So stop by our booth, 102, and take the opportunity to check out our new responsive website platform, Chameleon. You'll see what the future of dealer websites will look like. You'll learn why Google recommends that your dealership's website be built on a responsive platform, and you can check out the sexiest darn dealer websites you've ever seen. So if you're going to be a digital dealer, make sure you stop by booth 102. I'm going to be there, and I'd love to meet you. And while you're there, check out the future of dealer websites and our speaking sessions from 4 of our best and brightest at Dealer On. You don't want to miss them. And hey, by the way, our good friends at Moore Scarry are also going to be a digital dealer, so stop by and see them too at booth 406. You'll also be able to check out their brand new social media app, Spark. What can Spark do for you? Well, it's a proactive reputation management tool that will actually help you sell cars on social. You heard me right. It's pretty awesome, huh? So you want to stop by booth 406 and get yourself a 30-second demo on Spark. Oh, we also have great news for all you attendees out there today. Our good friends at Moore Scarry are going to be giving away an amazing prize today on the webinar. One of you lucky webinar attendees is going to win a GoPro Hero 3 camera. You have to be on the live broadcast to win it, though. Oh, I wish I was eligible to win this awesome prize today, but you know what? You are. All you have to do is stay tuned for the details after Paul's presentation, and you could be scoring this awesome prize today. And if that wasn't enough, also, at the conclusion of the webinar, you're going to receive a short survey. So fill it out, because we're always looking for quality feedback from our audience. Today, we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all the completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. We're going to have some fun today, so let's get started. Let's learn about cutting through the advertising bull, what really works. Paul Caldwell, my goodness, it's about darn time you did my show. We've known each other for years. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. And yes, Moore Scarry has done we just work so well together, Dealer On and Moore Scarry. So it's about time, don't you think, that you came on and talked about this? And what a great topic you picked, because I kind of feel like dealerships feel like they're being told to do absolutely everything they can get their hands on with regards to advertising. And I think you and I both know it's not necessarily true. They don't have to do everything. So why don't you tell the audience, the kinds of things that we're going to be learning about today and a little bit more about Moore Scarry and yourself.
All right. Well, first, thank you very much, Eliana, for having us on. All of us at Moore Scarry are very happy to be here and to be a part of your webinars. So the title of this slide is Cutting Through the Advertising Bull, and what really works. And the reason why we came up with this was because we're the largest Tier 3 automotive ad agency in the country, and we hear it constantly from our clients are, you know what, I just don't know. There's so many different things that are thrown at us, and everybody's telling us, you got to do this, you got to do this, and you've got all these experts out there saying, this is the best place to spend your money. Well, we represent over 200 plus franchise dealers across the country, from the smallest markets to the largest markets. And what that does is it gives us a perspective to see what's actually working and what's not working. So everything you're going to see here today isn't theory. I, Paul Caldwell, am not some advertising guru that knows everything. Sorry, but everything.
Why do I have you here then?
Well, no, it's not me. It's our team behind us. Moore Scarry Advertising, we truly do employ the brightest and best in the industry. Plus, we have the people behind us. My business partner, Tom, is a genius in this as well. But we get to look at everything where the rubber meets the road and see actually what works. So I put this together. It holds true pretty much for every single market, whether you're large or small, whether you're out in the boonies or in a major metro area. So going forward, looking at today's objectives, we're going to go through the 10 advertising priorities. We basically put everything in a priority list from 1 through 10, and this is how we approach every one of our planning for every one of our dealers. So we start with 1 and we go through 10, and we make sure everything is in all our ducks in a row, and it goes through this. This is actually kind of like a trade secret of ours. I mean, we really build every account like this, and our accounts are happy and they are all working. Then we're going to go through the percent of allocation per advertising priority, and then you're going to understand the key elements to successful brand and retail messaging. Now, you might ask us, why do we do this? Why are we giving away our trade secrets? And the truth of the matter is we believe in education of the people out there. I mean, our agency is set up as a flat retainer, and we do that. We don't take commissions back from companies because we want to have a clear view of everything, and we're not swayed by money or anything else. I mean, we look at this that way, and we know that the more we educate people, actually in the long run, our business grows. So at the end, there's going to be a question-answer session, and on that, I have my business partner, Tom, on that call as well. He's a wealth of knowledge. He jumps in and pretty much has a hand in every single one of our accounts management. So he'll be able to help answer some more questions at the end. So this right here, I'm sure you all know what it is. It is, it's a silver bullet. And I guarantee you at the dealership, you're getting between 7 to 10 calls per week saying that they have this. I've got the greatest product. It's unreal. You got to see this thing. Man, it's awesome. You're going to sell 20 cars a month extra on this. It's only going to cost you $9.95 a month. That's not an exaggeration. I guarantee everybody's sitting there saying, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. But the problem is you dealers fall for it. And why do you fall for it? You fall for it because you're all looking for that competitive edge. And I'm here to tell you that one magic silver bullet does not exist. What does exist is going through your entire advertising budget, not just budget, but everything you're doing, and doing everything a little bit better than your competition. It's not one single thing, it's everything. So looking at this, there are some still dealers out there that look and break out their digital versus traditional. You need to stop doing that if you're still doing it. Reality is this right here is your advertising. It's all advertising. So moving on, this is the advertising priorities. The first priority that everybody needs to realize and address is your number one most important thing you need is a website. We basically, that is your virtual showroom. It is actually the first showroom that people see, with over 92% of all people shopping for a vehicle now is shopping online prior to making the purchase. So we started off with that, and we put together a percent of budget for each one of these priorities. And your website, it's so important, but you need to allocate a certain amount of money for this thing. So we put 2 to 4% of your budget, and this is based upon everybody who has a budget of $35,000 or more. As we go through all these percents, you're going to see that breaking out. So it pretty much holds true. If you're at $35,000 and that's your budget, it might be closer to the 4%. If you spend more money than that, you're going to be on the higher percent. So talking about your website, J.D. Power reports that all U.S. vehicle shoppers using an automotive website or app on a smartphone grew by a staggering 73% from 2012 to 2013. I can't wait to see what 2014 is going to show. About 40% of the consumers said they made their choice of an auto dealer was impacted by the dealer's website. It's become so influential that the dealership is often the last step in the buying process. I think we all know that. New and used car buyers spend 60% of their shopping process online. That's according to AutoTrader, but we know that 90% of the people are doing some sort of research online prior to making the purchase. So our recommendation for a website is find a good provider and invest that money. Okay, don't go and find these small, tiny little companies or your friend or something that knows to do it. Most of the website platforms out there have great SEO, great lead conversion, things like that. My advice and our advice at the agency is to find one of those good partners. Dealer On is one of those good partners. We have worked and recommended them many times in the past. Another thing to take into consideration on your website is video increases engagement. So every chance you get, put video on there. You want them to spend more time on site. So basically, if you have lots of video on there, your time on site bumps over 500%. And it cuts your bounce rate quite a bit and increases your page views to 2.3 per session. I'm not going to go through all the stats there. But moving on, and as I keep moving on, I want you all to realize that I'm kind of going fast because there's a lot to cover. So if I'm talking too fast and you're having a hard time keeping up, I do apologize, but we're going to be available, like I said, at the end for questions and answers. So your next priority is to make sure you have ongoing optimization for your site. Now, this is very important for medium and large metro markets. However, in your smaller markets, it's not necessarily that important, because if you're sticking with the great website providers that are out there, you're going to have SEO built into the package as it is, and that should suffice. We recommend that you spend about 1%, of your advertising budget in ongoing optimization. Some stats here for optimization. 93% of online experiences begin with the search engine. Almost 40% of the customers come from search. 50% of customers are more likely to click on a search result if the brand appears multiple times in the results page. And this one's big, is companies that have a blog have 434% more index pages, and companies with more index pages get far more leads. Something really to take on. Now, the next advertising priority, and I'm not going to win many fans on this one, is AutoTraderInCars.com. It's extremely important. Now, I'm sure everybody here has mixed feelings about AutoTrader. Some love it, some don't. But it is important, and it's going to be here for a long time. We recommend that you spend between 6 and 10% of your total advertising budget on this. I'm not going to go through all the things on AutoTrader and all the stats because I'm not a rep for AutoTrader. But a couple key things to point out is since the mobile traffic has increased, it's fueled double-digit growth for AutoTrader. So whether you like them or you don't, they're here to stay and they're growing. So my advice and our advice is to embrace them, accept it, and but at the exact same time, listen to their reps with a grain of salt, because those reps, and actually it holds true to all reps, is reps that represent an individual product have vested interest clearly in their product in getting the most money and continuing to sell them their product. So take it with a grain of salt. I've noticed lately that they've been a lot more helpful, the AutoTrader and Cars reps, than they used to be, with a better attitude. So, you know, looking at that. Now, one of the things that we've noticed is, and this is kind of important for our dealers, is we recommend staying with the base package, okay, and doing some spotlights. AutoTrader's probably not going to like hearing me say that, but in very few instances have we seen them buying whatever ridiculous super-duper package they're trying to push you on now. You know, that we've been able to get away with the base and notice absolutely no difference in success. And last thing is, don't fall for that blackmail. I know they, not saying they blackmail you, but I'm just saying is they'll threaten you to sell the spot to your competition, and we've seen is it really has not affected business at all. So now the next priority is a huge one, search engine marketing. And again, my background was VP of Sales for Haystack Digital Marketing for, you know, right when it was in its infancy all the way through to last year. And what we've noticed is this is critical. And basically, we recommend spending between 15 and 20% of your entire advertising budget on search engine marketing. Please don't leave the webinar. I hope that doesn't freak you out, but this is absolutely critical, but you have to follow the strategy that, that we recommend. Now, we recommend picking a partner that specializes in automotive. I mean, there are other companies out there, and I still see dealers doing it, where they will do their SEM with, you know, local newspaper or some of those other companies that also represent, let's say, you know, barbers or restaurants or whatever, and then they're also handling a dealer's search engine marketing, and I strongly advise not to go against, you know, not to do that. Pick automotive because two things. One, 50% of this is technology, and 50% of this is advertising. The other thing to do that we highly recommend is getting involved in your search engine marketing. It is so critical, with 20% of your advertising budget going to it now. I imagine as time goes on, it's probably going to grow from there. But the thing is your search engine marketing companies are run, your campaigns are run by techie people. And one thing about techie people is they are, their goals are set to, are not necessarily in line with what a dealership's goals are. And what I mean by that is a tech person is going to strictly recommend you having the best performing campaign where you have a low cost per conversion, a low cost per click, and that doesn't necessarily jive with what the dealer wants to do. So skipping ahead a little bit, next thing I recommend is adding dynamic campaigns to your search engine marketing. Most dealers now have this. When I was with Haystack, we were the first and pioneers to come up with dynamic campaigns. And what it is we take your pre-owned inventory and we create a custom SEM campaign per individual piece of unit through it. And then it's deep linked to that actual piece of inventory. Now, this right here is a huge, huge thing. If this is done correctly with the rest of your SEM, you can actually see an immediate increase in your pre-owned visits. The other thing to do is set your geographics correctly. A lot of dealers will just sit there and let their SEM company say, you know, I don't know, just set me up with a 20-mile radius around my store. And to me, that doesn't suffice. I think what you need to do is really take a deep dive into your trade area and a deep dive into your CRM and see where your customers are coming from. You know, we'll do this at the agency, regardless of who the SEM company is, and we'll look at where are we placing our keywords, and does it match up with the trade area and where your customers actually live. And then also look at where your areas of opportunities are. So your geo should not look like what's on the screen right now. It should have this, and then it should have multiple circles all around the map. And you know, it's proven time and time again to truly increase your business. So the next thing right here. Now, this goes back to my point earlier about your Google technician. All right, you want to get your impression share above 85%. And what an impression share is, if you don't know, and I'm sure most of you do, is every time somebody types in, for example, 2014 Ford F-150, you want your ad to show up 85% of the time that ad's put in there. Actually, 85% of the time from any time somebody types in a vehicle, new or used, that you have in your inventory. The reason why we recommend this, and it gets more expensive when you do this, is we've seen that this still, as competitive as it is today, we still see that this will increase your business cheaper and much better than any other medium out there. So it is critical that you do this. Now, the next step right here, and a lot of people still do this, is they ignore Bing. And as you can see, it's 25.9% of the searches are powered by Bing. So one of the first things we do when we take over a client is, you know, we look at their SEM, regardless again of who's running it. We will look at it and say, well, do you have Bing campaigns set up? And when we do that, we actually increase the number of leads because it's less competition on there, and it brings down their total overall cost per conversion because it is still cheaper. So do not ignore Bing at all. Now, one of the most important parts of your search strategy, and this also goes to your dealer.com strategy, I mean not dealer.com, your autotrader and cars.com strategy, is price to the market. And I can't stress this enough. You got to think about this, is your price is what's going to drive people to the store. If people are only visiting 1.2 stores before they make a purchase, what does that tell you? That tells you that if they're not coming into your store, you're not getting a shot at them. And the reason why they're not coming to their store is they've seen something online that they didn't like. 9 times out of 10, it's because they didn't like your pricing. So I highly recommend go with one of these companies, get the price to the market, and price to that market. I can tell you that we have an example where I had a dealer that never priced the market, basically tried to club every single person that came in the door. I mean, they were hitting them up $6 to $8 grand on the front end, regardless of what they paid for the vehicle and regardless of what the vehicle's value was. And they had about 425 pieces of pre-owned inventory in their lot, and they didn't understand why they weren't selling anything. So long story short, I got them through, it took a long time, but I got them to finally price to the market, actually 98% of the market, and we saw an immediate spike in their business. I mean, we're talking, they only did it for the last 10 days of the month, and when they did it, their leads almost tripled on a daily basis. So I can't stress enough how important it is to price to the market, but you know, or better. One of the other things to consider also when you're doing this is as you price to the market and people are coming in, hold firm on your price. You know the reason why they came into your store was because they liked what they saw online and they liked the price they were about to pay, and they, you know, they shopped. So you're in a better position at that point to say, oh, well, go ahead, shop our competition. In fact, here's a computer. Go to town. Would you like something while you're shopping? They're going to be taken back by that, and I've seen it in tons of our stores that do this, and it's pretty powerful. Next advertising priority is targeted direct mail, which we call smart mail. We recommend you spend about 5% of your budget into this type of direct mail. Now, what this direct mail is we call it targeted, smart mail, whatever. It's mailing to your customer base. Again, y'all probably already know this, or a lot of you probably know this, but you'd be surprised how few dealers actually do this on a regular basis. This is extremely important. It doesn't cost a huge amount of money, and it is your #1 area of business. These are already your customers. They've already decided to shop from you in the past. They already feel comfortable with the decision, and people like to follow, you know, their regular, let's say, tradition of shopping stuff. So it is the easiest way to increase your business. Now, the next thing is electronic media. And what I call electronic media is this covers your traditional broadcast TV, your cable, and your radio. And this varies by market. What is best for your market in those 3 categories is difficult for us just to recommend because, again, it varies by market. I mean, you might be where cable penetration is only 43% and you want it to be about 60-70% before you invest your money in cable. And at that point, you don't want to you know, you don't want to invest your money there regardless of how many spots you get for how cheap. So what we've done is I'm going to give you a strategy that we approach every one of our clients in each one of those mediums. So if broadcast television is #1 in your area, you can use that strategy to you know, to place your buys and things like that. So we recommend, and this is kind of big, about 45% of your advertising budget in electronic media. So let's start. First thing to do is focus on the active audience. Now, what I mean by active is Most people now know how to use their DVRs. Almost everybody's got one, and they tend to record their shows. But there are certain programs that people don't necessarily record. First being news, second sports, and third tends to be weather. So you want to go into that tuned-in audience to place your media buys. Now, taking a look at the broadcast. Now, broadcast television is your NBCs, your ABCs, and your CBS or Fox, your local channels. Our recommendation is an own-it strategy. Focus on the top stations and a heavy frequency in all the key day parts. Create a mix of 30s for longer messaging and the bookends for 15s. Now, for those of you who don't know what a bookend is, it is the spots right when they go into a commercial break and then right when they're coming out of the commercial break. So you want to get those 15s for, into the break, out of the break, and because people tend to run errands sometimes during those commercial breaks. So again, active viewership in key day parts. We focus on early morning, prime access, early news, and late news. And again, sports, late fringe. And then demand for free added value, 30s, 15s, and 10s. When we're doing our negotiations, and we recommend this for all the dealers out there, is we don't allow them to include the added value into your cost per point. Negotiate off your cost per point. Now, cable strategy. If cable makes sense in your market, okay, we recommend a heavy frequency of 10-plus spots per week per network or higher. When you're buying cable, buy it like you buy broadcast. Don't necessarily buy it like the cable rep's going to tell you to do, because cable reps are going to be like, hey, I can sell you 5,000 spots for $5,000. It's $1 a holler. And the problem is they're going to put you, if you leave it up to the rep, they're going to put you in placement where nobody but a dog and a monkey are watching. So what good is it to have that? Another thing is to demand what we call, they're called taggables, and it's extra added value spots. And it tends to give you a national feel and much more credibility. For example, ESPN SportsCenter is brought to you by the Northwest Honda dealers. Happy Honda Days. Just a quick example there. Now, radio.
Do they really say $1 a holler?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I used to be one of those reps at one point, so
Really?
I used to use that line myself.
Okay, go ahead. Continue.
So now looking at radio, we recommend the last 3 weeks of each month. And again, take an own-it strategy. Our founder, Duncan Scarry, used to always say, if you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly bear. And we kind of take that to heart, and we do that in our buying. So we want to focus on the top stations with heavy frequency, AM and PM drives exclusively. Radio reps, I'm going to tell you, are going to tell you, well, people listen at all different times of the day, and you need a schedule that crosses from 6 a.m. to 12 midnight. Well, again, coming from that industry, I can tell you that the reason why they do that is there's only so many spots in those prime time where the most active listenership is going. So they're doing it for their own interest, not necessarily because it makes sense. Another big thing is obviously demand remotes. I don't look at the remotes as actually driving people to your store. I only look at a remote as to a couple things. One, you get a ton of extra added value in it, but as far as on-air mentions. But the other thing is if they're coming in on a Saturday and your store is busy and you know, from your regular traffic, it just adds a little bit of excitement to it and can help with sales that day. The other thing to do is consider DJ endorsements whenever possible. We seen that work so many times, but you have to pick that person well, because that person needs to be passionate about your product and passionate about your store, and they really have to sell it when they get on the air and talk about it. Now this slide here, this is great. what we've done at the agency, and we actually have a in-house software that we developed where, and I'm not selling my agency on this, I'm just bringing it up, where we get to, it takes your Google Analytics and overlays it with your broadcast schedules or your cable schedules or whatever media schedules they are. And we can actually see spikes when your flights are running. So here's an example right here where we ran a schedule. This is going over where we flighted our weeks, and this is from the beginning of May and going through to the end of the month. Now, each week we focused on Wednesday through Friday each time, and you can see that the peaks and valleys were pretty great. You know, the drop-off was huge, the peaks were huge. But then, that last week of May, we ran a schedule where it was heavy media that was very consistent. And what you noticed is the peaks weren't as great, but the valleys weren't as deep either. But this is legit. This happens all the time because there is a direct correlation between what happens with your broadcast media and your online traffic. So this brings us to our poll question. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead. Thank you so much, Paul. All right, audience, we have 3 poll questions for you today. This is your first. So please get involved, get plugged in, and get your answers in. We want to know what you think about this question. How does your dealership currently track your traditional advertising results? Please select one of the following answers. Do you track it by tracking the ups to the store, or if the store seems busier? Do you ask your customers how they heard about you? How about you check total traffic to your website? Or do you just say, hey, you know what? That advertising must be working because we sold more cars. Or you really have no process in place to track results. Whatever it is, we want to know, how does your dealership currently track your traditional advertising results? Once we get a majority of those votes in, we'll close the poll and we'll share those results with you so you can see how you stack up with everyone else that's on this presentation. So I'm kind of surprised I don't have more votes in. Come on, people, wake up. Get your votes in. How does your dealership currently track traditional advertising results? And Paul, just so we're clear, tell them again what traditional advertising is.
Your traditional advertising is your radio, your newspaper, your TV, your broadcast, and your cable.
Okay, radio, TV, broadcast, cable, and newspaper. All right, audience, that's what we were looking for. How does your dealership track those results? So once well, you know what? We do have a lot of people who voted. So thank you so much, audience, for getting involved. Ready? We're going to close this poll and share the results. And Paul, I think you're going to be surprised by the results. I could be wrong.
Okay.
I think I remember I was wrong one time in the 70s. But
yeah. I didn't think you were alive in the 70s.
Oh yeah, I'm old. All right, here we go. Let's close this poll and share the results. 52% of today's audience say they track their traditional advertising results by asking their customers how they heard about them. 52%. Was that, I mean, does that surprise you? Because I'm kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, it surprises me. I would say we're typically a lot less than that, but let's also remember that the people that are on this webinar are constantly seeking to improve their advertising. So it doesn't necessarily surprise me from this.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go down the rest of the results as well. 14% said that they track it by counting the number of ups to the store and if the store seems busier. Now, about a fifth of today's audience, 21%, said that they check the total traffic to the website. Only 3% think that traditional advertising works if they see the sales go up. And 10% of today's audience said that they have no process in place to track those kind of results. Paul?
Wow. All right, so I can continue now?
Yes, you can, unless you have a comment to make.
Nope, no comment at all.
All right.
So again, moving back on to the advertising priorities is the next priority you all need to focus on is what we're calling digital media. And this might be confusing because some people consider search engine marketing as digital advertising. But we call digital media it's pretty much the same as the electronic media. It's just digested differently than how it is today. I mean, for instance, I was in a meeting last week where myself, who I'm over 40, and some other people that were with me were over 40, but we had a Google technician with us in a meeting. He was 26 years old, and we were just talking, and he does not consume media at all the same way we do. He doesn't even have cable or broadcast TV in his home. He doesn't watch it whatsoever. But what he does watch is a lot of video pre-roll and stuff like that. So this is extremely important for the people under 30 to go after. So we recommend that you spend roughly 5 to 10% into this digital media. And as time goes on, us old people are going to fade out a little bit more in the way that we currently watch TV, and we're all going to end up going to this digital media. So this number is actually going to continue to grow. So let's start with video pre-roll. Now, video pre-roll is something that we absolutely love at the agency, and we recommend every one of our dealers to do this because it is very inexpensive right now. That's one big thing. I mean, it's cheap. Clicks can cost as low as 12 cents per click on the largest advertising networks. Now, looking at this, you take YouTube, for example. You only pay if people watch it in its entirety. And I'm sure, again, all y'all know all this. But it's critical that that you're spending a good portion of your money on this because you get a lot of free advertising with it because 50% of the users skip the ads. It's less than 50 that always skip the ads. So you have to think you're getting a lot of free advertising with this. That part is huge. But that brings up another point is that you have to focus on the first 5 seconds of your creativeness. So the creative approach for this, and we're going to get to creative later, but really I want to talk about the creative for this, is you need to put in your ads, everything that's important to that ad within the first 5 seconds. Because if you're familiar with the way these YouTube ads, which I'm sure everybody is, that a thing will pop up and say, skip ad in 5, 4, 3. So while that's up, you should have up there who you are, your URL, and what the offer is in that first 5 seconds. And then it can trail off and get into more stuff and keep going. And sometimes if you do a 30, you can make it extremely boring at the end to try and encourage people to skip off the ad and get the free spot. But that's not a direct recommendation. So next thing to do is look at Hulu. At this point, we do not recommend our dealers to get onto Hulu. I think they, so far from what we've seen in negotiations and the talking with them, is they're not cost effective at this point. They're kind of full of themselves and really demand a high cost per thousand, and it's just not a recommendation at this point. But we're going to continue to watch that, which leads us into Pandora Internet Radio. And again, I'm sure a lot of you guys are using this already or have looked into it. It is an ultra efficient cost per thousand, and we absolutely love it at the dealership. At the agency for our dealers, and we shoot to have a 10% share of voice with this. But one of the things that I've noticed is that they recommend a 10%, but they never actually give you a full like cum audience, total number of audience that's listening to your ads. So when they say a 10% share of voice, I find that to be a bit much personally, but we have some dealers that love 10%. It really kind of varies by market. Some of the more major metro markets has such a huge listenership that 10% I actually buy, but in some markets where you're running it, you'll see that you can get away with 5% because they'll play the ad over and over and over again. I know everybody in our company, which shouldn't be doing it, but they are doing it. They're all listening in at their desks all day long, and they hear the same ads over and over and over again. But we love Pandora because we can get exactly what we want to buy. It is very inexpensive for what you get, and we do recommend it. iTunes Internet Strategy, again, this is something that's not available at the local level yet. The early research is showing that high household income and a ton, 20 million iTunes radio listeners, it's something we're watching, but I guarantee you as time goes on and their listenership grows, this high household income will probably drop a little bit. All right. Next, hopefully everybody is still with me. Again, I'm kind of going pretty fast through this. Social. So next on our list, we have, this used to be way down our list. And the reason why it was way down our list is because nobody has ever figured out a way to actually sell cars on this. And, we were like, well, social doesn't sell cars, so, put it on the list. It was down at the bottom. Keep an eye on it, and, maybe one day it'll become more prevalent. So we recommend only spending still only 1 to 2% because you can do this very, very effectively internally. So you don't necessarily need to spend a ton of money behind this. Getting back to what I was saying before as far as keeping an eye on it, us at the agency, we were like, well, we were looking at the statistics, looking at the growth of it, looking at the fact that there's 1 billion plus people on, let's just say, Facebook. There's got to be a way to do this. So looking at one of the stats, which isn't even social media, it's just the fact that 92% of people trust recommendations from friends and family more than all other forms of marketing. That came right from Nielsen. And then that same study found that less than half of all consumers considered traditional paid advertising to be credible. And obviously this kind of, broke our heart at the ad agency because, we'd like to think that all of our ads are credible. But it woke us up to the fact that there's got to be a way to sell cars on social and a way to incorporate this word of mouth from friends and family. So looking at the other statistics from social media, we know that 85% of fans of brands on Facebook recommended brands to others. We know that. You've heard that stat. You've heard different numbers probably from different times, but you know that it pretty much holds true. 43% of consumers are more likely to buy a new product when learning about it on social media. That came from Nielsen. Now that's pretty impressive, 43%. 79% of the consumers who liked a brand on Facebook did so in order to receive discounts and other incentives. Now, that particular stat actually goes away come November. Facebook is not going to allow you to incentivize people to like their, for you to like their store anymore. They're actually changing that. 81% of U.S. Online consumers' purchase decisions are influenced by their friends' social media posts, and versus 78% are influenced by the posts of the brands they follow on social media. So this is probably one of the most critical parts of social media is, and pretty much like where we based our study in our, our new practice that we've been doing in our test market that we did is 81% are influenced by their friends, okay? So how do we get the friends to talk about your dealership? And at the same time, how do we drive up fans of your page. So I'm going to skip the last one, which pretty much is the same as one of the earlier ones, and kind of get into what we did. Now, we did this test where we asked our dealership to, one of our dealers, actually it was a couple dealers, to do this. And what we wanted them to do was have the salesperson take a picture or a video of their happy customer at the time that they're happiest. And that is right when they made their purchase. So take it. Then the next thing we had them do is have the salesperson friend them on Facebook, then tag their picture or tag tag them on the picture, post it, and check them in at the particular dealership. And then what we had them do is write something in the comments of offering all their friends, hey, this is Jason Grinder guy who just purchased a new Ram 1500, just bought this vehicle. If you would like a friends and family discount, please hit me up, and so on and so forth. So we ended up seeing over time that this actually generates leads. I mean, you got to think about it. If you've got 200 people purchasing vehicles from you every single solitary month, and you can get, let's say, 25% of those people, that's 50 people that are on there. And those 50 people probably have on average, let's say, 400 friends. So now you're getting free advertising to, what is that, 2,000 people every single solitary month, and it's the best form of advertising, word of mouth. Now, the tricky part of this is getting the salesperson to become friends with that person. So I'm not going to talk about it now, but that's where our company's Spark social media kind of sprouted from. But we figured out a way to do it where the salesperson doesn't actually have to, but you can do this manually in your store, and it just takes a little bit of work. Now the next thing is that second part of that statistic, and that is the 78% of the people trust the brands they follow on Facebook. So what we want to do is give them something. So we recommend on your social strategy to give them relevant content. There are tons of companies out there right now that provide relevant content. We also recommend continuing fan generations, but make the relevant content relevant, okay? Posting pictures of fluffy kittens playing with a ball of yarn or being chased by dogs or something like that does absolutely nothing to the people. They liked your page. If they're a BMW fan, they liked your page so they can stay in contact to see what's new, to see that kind of stuff. So very important to focus on that. Now, display and retargeting. I put this further down the list. Retargeting is great. Display is great, but it's not an immediate impact to driving things. We see an increase, but it's not. I don't think it's as important as those other things higher up in the list. And we recommend spending between 1% and 2% in the retargeting. Now we've got some good statistics. It could boost the response up to 400%. And nearly 3 out of 5 U.S. online buyers said they notice ads for products they looked. So, and that kind of goes back to the retargeting. I mean, if they're in the market, we like to follow them around with an ad. It's extremely important. So now this brings us to kind of the end, wrapping it all up. And I hope everybody's still awake on this. Again, it was a lot of information, a lot of statistics. So budget breakout. We recommend, and this is where I think you should take a screenshot, spending 35 to 45% in your traditional. Now, I never went over newspaper or billboards in this because, quite frankly, newspapers dead in most markets, but there are some markets where it still matters. and that goes back to breaking out your individual markets. Billboards, for instance, we really like for directional, or if you're doing a single payment or something quick and easy, but you've got to give the person viewing it some bit of information that they would find relevant. Okay, just putting up that you have been in business for 40 years and you're the Chevy store of choice doesn't really give them anything. Digital, spend between 40 and 50%. I mean, look at that balance. We're saying spend more money on digital. And that again goes to website, SEO, SEM, retargeting display, pre-roll, digital media, and then direct response anywhere from 5 to 15%. We put Conquest on here. It's a little bit higher than my other numbers, but Conquest eBlast we think is important. It's very inexpensive to reach a lot of people. So next poll question.
Thank you so much, Paul. And we're getting a lot of great questions in from the audience. So audience, thank you so much for giving out such wonderful questions. We're going to be getting to your questions just in a few more minutes. So sit tight. We're going to get to all of those because we don't just have Paul here. We also have Tom Kerr. So watch out. If you got questions for either one of them, please send them on in. All right, let's get to our second poll question of the day. We want to know, at your dealership, who currently places all the advertising? Who makes all those decisions and actually does the heavy lifting? We want to know. Please select one of the following answers. Is it that your dealership has an in-house marketing department that takes care of all of that? Or does your dealership work directly with an ad agency who takes care of it all? How about maybe you split responsibilities? Maybe one of you does digital and the other does traditional. Maybe the ad agency does digital and you guys place the traditional, or either, back or forth. Or maybe it's the owner or GM who makes all those decisions. He wants to be completely 100% in charge of that, and that's how it goes. Or are you the person it's all on? Are you the huckleberry at the dealership who gets to take care of all the advertising? How do you keep up with it? We want to know. Please select one of the following answers, and we're going to get to the answers for that as soon as we get more votes in. I know the votes are still coming in, so thank you, audience. Again, question is, who currently places all of the advertising for your dealership? We're talking all of it, traditional and digital. You have an in-house marketing department, you have an ad agency, you kind of work with an ad agency to get it done, the owner or the GM makes those decisions, or you. It's all you. It's all you, it's always been you. Once we get a majority of the votes, we'll close the poll and share the results. And then we have somebody who wrote in. He says, what if I am the in-house marketing department and I do it by myself? Well, select which one ever you. I think you should go with D. It's all on me. So, but thank you so much for the question. Oh, he did. All right, very good. All right, so let's close this poll and share the results. Are you ready for this, Paul?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, 24% of today's audience, almost a quarter of today's audience, said that their dealership has an in-house marketing department that takes care of all that stuff for them. 16% said that they work with an ad agency who takes care of all that for them. 28%, that would be today's majority, said that they split responsibilities between digital and traditional with an ad agency. 14% said that the owner or the GM makes those decisions, and 18% said it's all on me. I gotta say, Paul, I'm really surprised. It's almost even. It's not completely even, but it's pretty even. There wasn't one standout, choice in these 5 options on how dealerships are handling their advertising. Is that what you've seen too as well?
Yeah, that holds more in line with what we see across the country. So that one didn't surprise me too much at all.
Oh, okay. I was kind of surprised. I thought that there'd be one, clear-cut, hey, 50% of today's audience voted this way, but that actually kind of surprised me. Okay, great. Let's keep going.
Okay, so I know we're running a little long, but I'm going to quickly go through the next part, which is creative. Now, this is now that we know where to spend the money and everything else, we have to look at our creative and how we're going to approach our, our messaging. So, we break our messaging up into two different things. You've got a branding strategy and you got a retail strategy. And this right here, our branding strategy, is something that we call FRED, and it's familiarity, relevance, esteem, and differentiation. Do they know you? Do they need you? Do they like you? What makes you different? So you have to approach every one of your branding strategies with this. So I'm going to give you an example of a spot that that we've done, and it's performed very well, and dealers love it, and the community loves it. It's a feel-good, but it's a branding, just a great branding spot. So I'm going to play this right now, and it should play over everybody's speakers. So here we go.
Gainesville is a special place, built on the backs of hardworking people who are proud to call Gainesville their home. That's the kind of people you'll find right here at Honda of Gainesville. People who take pride in bringing you the best customer experience, not just once, but every single time you stop by, both during and after the sale. Our top priority is providing you with the hometown service you deserve. No matter the roads you travel, we're here for you. So if you're looking for a place where you'll be treated like a neighbor, not a number, by friends who care about your automotive needs, even after you've driven off the lot, there's no need to travel far. All you have to do is come home to Honda of Gainesville, your dealer in your town. Yeah, this is my town. Where I was born, where I was raised, where I keep all my yesterdays. This is my town.
So, all right, so there's that. I mean, that is the perfect example of a branding strategy. We hit all the items in FRED in that, and I think we did a good job of that. And so we recommend for your branding doing something like that, something that represents you guys as your store. Next thing moving on is a retail strategy, and we call this TIP, theme, impulse, and price. A reason to believe, a reason to hurry, and a reason to buy. So if you think about it is, for the dealers that every single month are having some blowout sale, you have to make that blowout sale believable. You have to put in something in there that it expires at the end of the month, and you have to give them the reason to buy, the price. And you got to do it before the end of the month. I mean, that's big. So I put together an example right here of a spot that we did for Pappas Toyota, where it gives and addresses all those things, and it's pretty aggressive. And before any of you guys see this and think, is that legal? It is actually absolutely legal. We ran it through, and we ran it through. Even Toyota compliance agreed, so it's we're good.
Pappas Toyota leads the way. Drive any new Toyota for half the price. I repeat, any new Toyota half the price. Like new Corollas, not $19,414. Drive for just $9,100. New Camrys, not $24,224. Drive for just $11,448. Absolutely every new Toyota. Drive for just half the price. But hurry, at half the price. Inventory goes twice as fast. #1 in St. Louis. Pappas Toyota leads the way. Online at pappastoyota.com.
So now that, again, is a pretty aggressive spot, but we've seen an immediate uptick on stuff like that. Now, the other thing is we have what we call like a recall strategy, and this particular spot is a favorite of ours. It's it's designed to get in people's heads and not leave your head throughout the day. So we've actually pissed off a few of the dealers that have watched this because we played it twice, and all day they're humming this damn song, and it drives them nuts. But that's a good thing, and they recognize it, so we really didn't piss them off. But I'm going to play this one for you. Hopefully the audio comes through pretty good.
Wheels go round, engine turns, people's links and touchscreen flows, shiny paint, leather seats, and the price goes down, 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 but it says, whoa, here's Fifth.
So I'm not going to do it because I like the audience, but I would play this again. And it gets stuck in everybody's head all day long. So now moving on, everybody knows that TV viewership has changed. Most TV viewership is significantly more interactive. I'm sure everybody on this has heard it a million times. But the screen on the right is probably everybody's home right now, where you've got laptops going, iPads going, cell phones going, everything else. So our creative strategy, and we recommend this, and most dealers are actually doing this now, but you'd still be surprised some don't. If you're not doing this, you need to do it. So you're basically what you see online has to match what you see offline. I can't hammer that enough. There's nothing more frustrating than somebody watching an ad on TV and then going to the website and not seeing the offer, not having a landing page on it. I mean, it also even goes down to the POP, from the price tags to, I mean, we've got one dealer that we even take his sliders and we make them large into posters and post them up in his service drop. It's critical that it all matches because it's all about the user experience. And this is a perfect example of right there. You see an ad on the television comparing a Subaru Forester to a Honda CR-V. Well, it's great if in this particular market, let's say the Subaru Forester is beating out the CR-V, it's important that if we're running an ad that talks about that the CR-V is actually a smarter, better choice, it's better to see it actually online and driving people to the website to review those statistics. So last poll question.
Last poll question. All right, audience, here we go. It's on your screen now. Please answer this poll question. Does your current online advertising strategy match your current offline advertising strategy? Please select one of the following answers. Is it yes and it's working great for us? Yes, sort of. We could definitely use some help. No, we don't really have consistency. No, we do totally different things on different mediums. Or no, I didn't know it was supposed to match. Please select which answer best describes what's happening at your dealership with your online and offline advertising strategies. Once we get a majority of those votes in, we'll close the poll and we'll share the results. And audience, I want to say thank you so much for stepping up. Boy, oh boy, we got some great questions coming in from the audience. Paul, I hope you're planning on sticking around for a while because we got a lot of questions from the audience.
I'm going to go have a beer. All right, no, I'm just kidding.
All right. Thank you so much, audience, for voting. A few more votes are still coming in, so we'll give them a chance to get those in, and then we'll close this poll, and we'll share the results. Huh. Interesting. I love that I get to see the votes before everyone else does. We had a quick question from somebody. He says, what is POP, P-O-P? Did I miss that?
Point of purchase. So inside the store, if you're running some big, let's say, tire offer, you want to have some sort of poster in the service area so people can see while they're getting their oil change, that kind of thing. So point of purchase is what POP stands for.
Thank you so much for that. Okay, here you go, Paul, and for the rest of the audience, here are the answers to this last poll question. 45% of today's audience, the majority, said yes, their current online and offline advertising strategies do match. That is great, 45%. 30% of today's audience said sort of, but we could definitely use some help. 16% of today's audience said that they admit they don't really have consistency. And an even 5% picked the last two options, which were, no, we do totally different things on different mediums, and they didn't know it was supposed to all match. Paul, what advice do you have for people? Their current online and offline advertising strategies should match, correct?
Yes, and I'm actually pleasantly surprised. That's great that there's so many people that are matching it because I mean, just a year ago, I guarantee if we asked this question, it would be there wouldn't be nearly as many people as matching that. But I'm not surprised because the audience is clearly active in these type of webinars, and I'm sure you all have attended things that's told you to do that. So our advice is to continue to match that. I know it's easy to let it get away from you, but I, again, can't stress enough that it's critically important that everything goes and matches up.
All right, let's wrap this thing up, Paul.
All right, so last 2 slides. Again, we recommend that goes hand in hand with the poll question and everything else. I want everybody there to take their approach in their marketing plan as a 360-degree plan. And it doesn't, and I don't mean just match everything across the board. I also mean pay attention to every single thing. And because it's not 1 or 2 things. I mean, 20 years ago when I got in the business, there was only the newspaper, radio, cable, and broadcast that you needed to pay attention to. And now it's so fragmented that a dealership's budget can get out of control quickly with a bunch of BS. It happens all the time. Don't get distracted by that silver bullet. So the key takeaways, right there. Don't fall for it. If somebody calls up and is like, this is revolutionary and everything else, ask for as many references as possible and do the active research. Don't just be, you know, an impulse buyer. Also, trust your ad agency. For those who have an ad agency on there or marketing directors, trust them. I mean, their job is to research this stuff, but nothing is more frustrating than a dealership that'll take over, buy something impulsively and spend money on it, have to revise stuff that's actually working, and you know, and then run with it, and then hold the marketing person or the ad agency accountable for that poor mistake. So again, don't fall for it. Invest your dollars wisely. Focus on every element of your advertising plan and make sure your message carries across all the platforms. And there we go.
Well, that was a lot of information, audience.
I know,
I'm sure.
I apologize.
No, don't. What, are you kidding? Are you apologizing for giving out great information to my peeps? No, it didn't.
Hopefully
We don't
nobody
accept apologies for that. No, that was an extraordinary presentation. Thank you so much. You know what, audience? We're not done yet. First thing we're going to do, of course, is give away a prize. So if you were here at the beginning of the webinar, then you heard me announce that our good friends at Moore Scarry are giving away an awesome prize today. And I'm sure you want it because I know I do. So if you missed it, well, I'll tell you. Moore Scarry is going to give one of you lucky webinar attendees a free GoPro Hero 3 digital camera. Boom. All you have to do is answer a simple question about today's presentation. So I hope you were taking notes. A lot of notes. Because this question is not a lay-down question. This is a very, very tough question. First one to write in the correct response is going to win this awesome prize. So get to your keyboards, get ready, and good luck, everyone. I know people are already raising their hand. Me, pick me. It's not about that. You've got to get the answer right, all right? I'm going to remind any vendors who are out there listening, please sit this one out. It's not for you. This prize is only for dealership personnel. We do appreciate your cooperation on that. Okay, here we go, everyone. Good luck. Get your fingers ready. You would have had to really been paying attention to get this one, so I hope you were. Here we go. The question is, video on your website increases time on site by what percent? Oh, we got a winner! Wow, only one person got it right. Oh, 2 people got it right, but only one got it right at the very beginning. So congratulations to, let me scroll up here, Robert Barnes. Robert Barnes, Bobby Barnes, you are our winner today. Robert, congratulations. I don't recall ever seeing your name on here before, but congratulations. First-time winner over here on the Dealer On webinar. Why don't you please write on in and, yes, He's very happy. Write on in and let me know what dealership you're from so I can give you a proper congratulations. Right after you do that, also send me your mailing address, Robert. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you so much for participating in our giveaway. You know what? It's okay. We give away prizes every week. So if you didn't win today, hey, try us next week. You might be a winner. Robert Barnes is from Paramount Auto Group. Congratulations, Robert. You are definitely a winner today. And, of course, huge thanks to our good friends at Moore Scarry for their incredible generosity. Robert, don't forget to write me your mailing address so we can actually send you the camera. All right? Now, if you haven't gotten your questions in yet for Paul Caldwell and his partner in awesomeness, Tom Kerr, well, I don't know what you're waiting for. Now's a great time to send it in. We already have a ton of questions. And, Paul, if you're ready, we'll just start at the top of the list. Are you ready?
I am ready. Don't forget to unmute Tom's phone. Tom, are you there?
I'm here.
Awesome.
Tom's ready to go. He even has his webcam on. Where the heck are you, Paul?
And there's my webcam.
There we go. All right, here we go. I don't know which one of you is going to take this one, but let's go with our very first question. It came in actually very, very early in the show. This is from Bert Hodge, and Bert says, my OEM mandates that I use their website. This website is inferior to our third-party website. How much do you think having two websites hurts us? Should I capitulate and go to just my OEM site? Bert, I feel your pain, man. A lot of dealerships are dealing with this. Paul and Tom, which one of you is going to take on this question from Bert?
Tom, do you want to take it or I can?
I'd be happy to.
Okay.
There's a couple of different ways to look at this, and it really comes down to the size of the dealership. And this is a common problem that we've had since the development of OEM relationships with certain website providers. We do have the ability, and there's technology that we can get done in order to not have the third-party website displayed within search engine results when it comes to organic results. It's just a matter of some code placement. That is one way. If you are going to have two websites, I recommend that you take a strategy of eliminating the OEM site that you don't feel comfortable with from organic search results. Now, a number of OEM-related websites require that you have a base search engine strategy with it, so it makes it even a little bit more difficult. Now, and then you focus all your efforts onto your third-party site that you feel performs better, and when it comes, and that's for a dealer who I feel has a strong budget, but the OEM leads are too important to ever give up the OEM site. So if you're a smaller dealer and with a smaller budget, then I'd recommend that you go with just the OEM site, bite the bullet, and work with a good agency or digital provider who can help you make it a much stronger performer. There's all kinds of customization that you can get done even with the OEM sites that you're not happy with.
Yeah, and just to add to that as well is check with them also, because what we've seen is a lot of dealers will be on outdated OEM, outdated website platforms. And, I mean, I've seen this a lot with Cobalt, where they've got a real dinosaur platform that they hadn't switched over to other people, so, to their newer ones. So check into that as well.
Great answer to a really awesome question. Bert, I even got people who wrote in and said it was a great question. So thank you so much for the great question. Many more of those great questions to come. By the way, I mistakenly forgot to tell everyone what the answer to the giveaway question was, and I apologize. The question was, again, video on your website increases time on site by what %? Of course, you already know the winner is Robert Barnes, and the answer was over 500%. That's right. So if you didn't get it the first time, let me tell you, it's over 500%. Please start using video on your website. Okay, let's get to the next question. Tom and Paul, your next question comes to you from David. David actually wrote this on, again, very early on in the show. Paul, you had mentioned that something about a $35,000 advertising budget, and he just wanted to make sure you were talking about $35,000 a month?
Yes.
Okay.
Per month.
Excellent. Per month. Okay, good. Short answer to a quick question. Okay, here we go. Next question comes to you from Paul. Paul says, should we be paying to advertise both new and used vehicles on both AutoTrader and Cars.com? Your advice to Paul.
Well, I'll start off with this one. You know, an AutoTrader is not going to love this. If you're in a smaller market, I would say no. And you know, Tom might have a different opinion of this as well. But in larger markets, you know, it depends on what your budget is. The thing that worries me about it all is the fact that AutoTrader and Cars are growing so fast because of the mobile devices. I mean, the stats are staggering that you don't necessarily want to leave that to other people. So my answer is budget-wise, if you can do it where it doesn't hurt, do it. If you can't, or it's a little bit tight and taking from some of those other priorities, I would push it further down the priority list.
So, and I'll add to that to expand a little bit more on what Paul was talking about on the size of the market and go a little bit deeper. You know, if you're a single point market, you know, you're the only Honda store within the market. New cars not nearly as important to be on AutoTrader because you have much less same brand competition. And to go even further, when you get to smaller markets, sometimes it's an AutoTrader market or a Cars.com market, and you really can look at it, and you might be able to avoid having to buy both. Larger metro markets, it's, you know, the more places you can have your vehicles, the better. So,
thank you so much. And Paul, somebody's writing in saying excellent answer. Paul, I'm sorry. Could you please go to the next slide with your mugshot on it? Ah, there we go. Okay. And Paul, who asked the question, great question. Thank you so much. We still have a ton of questions to get to, so let's get to this one from David. He says, I think I'm going to have to get my video editing software ready because there is so much that I want to share of this presentation already. Now, David also says, David, didn't you have a follow-up question? Oh, I lost it. Oh, well. David, if you have a follow-up question, please let me know. Next question comes to you from Catherine. Catherine says, can you tag someone from your business page? I'm having trouble getting it done.
No. Sorry. No, unfortunately you cannot. And that's why we put in the step that if you're doing it manually, your sales guy has to friend the person that's purchasing the vehicle. So the trouble is not a lot of people want to be friends with they like their car sales guy, but they don't want to be friends with them on Facebook. So, which is actually why we developed that company Spark that I was talking about earlier. I'm not trying to sell it at all, but we were able to figure out a way to do it where you can actually post on that person's page on behalf of the dealership, and that's pretty strong. But you can manually do it, and that's, you know, if you don't, you know, if your budget's very limited, we highly recommend doing it that way. But if your budget's really limited, chances are you're in a small market, and people are probably more likely to friend the person than in a major market. So,
well, Paul won't sell, but you can go to Digital Dealer booth 406 and figure it all out.
Boom. There you go.
Wow.
Okay. And Tina wrote in, she says, I thought you could tag them if they liked your business page.
No, that's not correct.
Okay. Well, we tried, you know.
Maybe, you know what, I mean, to Tina's point, well, to her point, you probably could have a while ago. I mean, Facebook changes every day.
Only if they're friends with the admin of the business page.
That could be it there.
Yeah, so you can't do it. Again, that goes back to Spark and what the development was in order to get the customers leaving testimonials on their own page, and that's how you increase the friends and family engagement. So, you know, like I said, you know, you can go to tryspark.com and figure that out, or call Paul. His phone number is right there.
I got you. Okay. Oh, and Tina said, she wrote back and she said, oh, that explains it. Yeah, it does explain it, doesn't it? Okay. Now it makes sense. I still think they should let us do it. Okay, next question comes to you from Ray. Ray noted that you pretty much covered the bases with, what you thought of a lot of different things. He did not hear you say if you liked Pinterest. What do you think about Pinterest? People want to know.
You want to take it?
Yeah, you take that one because
here's
what I think of it.
Here's what happens with the thing about social is, yes, Pinterest is great, and there's a place for it, but it comes down to time and budget, and you really want to focus on where the majority of the people are. So, it's kind of, put 80% of your effort where 80% of the people are, and that's, Pinterest is good. We like it. It's not, it's just not as dominant as Facebook at the time. It may get there. It should definitely be in consideration, but if you had to break each one of the priorities down into additional categories, under the social, I would put Pinterest below Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's why I didn't want to answer that one, is that goes to the point of cutting through the BS is, everybody's rushing to get into the next big thing that it's probably premature. So, again, to Tom's point, exactly that is, let's focus on the core and doing all that right and then focus on those. But that's one of the things where staying informed on a regular basis in time will, it probably may become prevalent. So keep an eye on it, but don't spend money there right now.
Gotcha. Okay, well, along with your advice on certain platforms, Bob wrote in, what do you think about geofencing?
I'm going to again leave this off to Tom.
Well, yeah, geofencing, it's, most of your digital partners that you have are automatically doing it. It saves you money, it's more targeted, and we're a fan.
Okay, all right, Bob, you heard that. Okay, how about Bruce? Bruce says, what about Google+?
I think, again, I don't know if you're doing your social internally or not, but I think it is very important. Google Plus really was about experience and, when you do searches and popping up and you'll see how many of your friends like something, so or not like or plus something. So it is important to keep an eye on it and do regular postings on that. We recommend that 100%.
Yeah, short answer on that, good for content, bad for engagement.
Yep.
But good for SEO.
Correct.
All right, so...
That's the content portion of it.
All right.
But you don't get much engagement there. Bruce,
thank you so much for that. Let's see. Gabriel says, what does VW say? Oh my gosh, I still have that song in my head. Okay. Let's see. We have Christy. Christy wrote in, how much energy should we be putting into our Google Plus page? I mean, you just said you liked Google Plus, so...
It's content that you already, yeah, I got it. It should be content that you already have created and not putting forth above and beyond effort. You're already creating content in multiple places. Just use the same content and get it posted there. Again, it helps with SEO value, so it is important, but don't expect a lot of people going there and plus one in you.
Okay, and David commented, so is Google Plus a necessary evil then?
Yeah, but it's easy. You're already creating the content, so it should just, when you post it to other places, it should just be part of the process.
All right. We've still got a ton of questions. Awesome audience today, so thank you so much. We do have a lot of people on. This next question comes to you from Ray. He says, do you create a separate Facebook page for the pics and videos or just post them into the news feed?
The pics and videos, well, it's actually posted in... like for our program, it's posted on both the person's wall as well as the dealership's wall or page, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily a separate one. It's one and the same with the software we developed. You may have to, when you're doing it manually, I believe you have to post it on both, manually. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Okay,
You
great.
don't need a separate page is the answer.
Yes, you don't.
You don't. Okay. Yes. See, Tom knows. Keep the answers short. All right. Let's see. Donna wrote in. She says, in your budget, there was no room for grassroots or community events.
Actually, that was under miscellaneous, and I might have on the last slide, basically what happened was when we revised the presentation, that last slide we made it more simple because the numbers looked a little jumbled. But we do recommend there's got to be a miscellaneous category of about 5%, and sometimes that could vary up to 10%.
And
It's under traditional.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. I'm sorry. I didn't know if you were going to say it. I apologize.
Yeah, and we put it under traditional.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, no, we do recommend that community involvement 100%. That's another thing that we push on all our clients is if you're not involved in the community, get involved. It's very important.
Very
Especially
important.
small markets.
Consumers love that. I just heard the Honest Company. I mean, I know it's a little bit of a tangent, but the Honest Company, is big in community involvement and giving back, and they just reached $1 billion, and she's only been doing it for 4 years. So giving back to the community, very important.
And on that note, we recommend, one of the things is how do you do it? This never came up, but you might find it helpful, is how do you do it without making yourself look like you're bragging? That's a big question we get from a lot of our stores. So we recommend that's when you utilize your social media platforms for community involvement as well as on your page. When you do a branding spot, you can do it where you're drawing attention to the charities or to the community involvement without necessarily saying, look, we sponsor all this, so you owe us, come buy cars from us. No, it's literally you're drawing attention to those charities, you're drawing attention to the community involvement, and it's more of a subconscious type way. Because I know that's important to a lot of people is how do you brag about it? So.
Gotcha. Okay, another question comes to you from Ray. He says, if retargeting increases response by 400%, why is it so far down the list?
Go ahead, Tom.
Well, one of the things that you need to think about is when yes, the conversions go up by 400%, but you're also talking about a much smaller number from the get-go. So, it's not nearly as large as a number that you're getting from, say, paid search. So you don't need a huge amount of money in retargeting. And I think the point of the slide was more about not so much as so far down the list, because each one of the things that went through are on the list. There's a number of things that don't make the list. So, and we focus more on retargeting as opposed to behavioral display, just because that is where we get a higher conversion rate. It's somebody that's already shown interest in your actual dealership. So the 400% may be a little confusing because you're actually starting out with a much smaller number from the beginning anyways.
Ray, great question. Thank you so much. Let's get to this next one from Bruce. He says, what would you suggest for a new store in a new market as far as getting the store off the ground? Hard and heavy right away, or slowly grow into it?
Our recommendation, is, well, make sure all your processes and everything are in place first, because you don't want to launch, spend all the money, drive people in, and end up pissing off customers and then getting bad reviews right off the bat. So once that's done, then we recommend hard and heavy to launch.
All right, you heard him, Bruce. Good luck. All right, next question comes to you from Paul. He says, I hope I'm not jumping ahead, because he wrote this earlier, but he says, I hope I'm not jumping ahead, but I'd like to see the complete top 10 list showing the categories and budget amounts.
Top 10 categories and budget amounts? You mean by percent?
Well, I don't know. He wrote it a while ago, the question, so.
Yeah, well, no, it would have to be by budget amount or by percentage because every budget is different. One of the things, and Paul alluded to it earlier, is there is no, well, he said a million times, is there is no silver bullet for anybody. Every single person, we hear it time and time again, our market's just different. And to a degree, it is. But it really comes down to the size of the market, the brand that you're selling. So it's what we gave was a general conversation, and I think Paul, didn't you ask them to take a screenshot?
Yes.
And then we also. So
yeah. Well, this is going to be on YouTube after, so y'all can go on and do it again there and do a screenshot, or you can just shoot me an email, and I can send that to you. Happily.
We'll look at the Nielsen. We measure markets by Nielsen, so that way we have market dealerships of all sizes, so we always have a good comparison.
Don't be afraid to reach out either. We're not salesy. We get invited to pitches. We're not. You hit us up. We're not going to sit there and hammer you with a bunch of stuff. We just know that the more people we help out, the more business we'll get in down the road, and that's been a core philosophy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Paul already wrote in and said thanks, and Ron wrote in. He says, was Conquest email on your top 10 list?
Conquest email, yes it is, because it's so inexpensive, and again, there's so much information, and we kind of had to shave it off a little bit. I touched upon it on the end. But Conquest email kind of goes into, I meant to lump it into the targeted direct mail because Conquest in regular direct mail is so much more expensive. So we do recommend in the Conquesting portion to do the email.
Yeah, and to add to that, Conquest emailing is the only emailing that should cost you money. And it should not go to any of your customer database, and you should be working with people who include emailing as part of your monthly fee, your customer database.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ron, for the question. Elmer has the next question. He says, and I hope I'm saying this right, he says, what does Paul mean with direct mail is greater than email or by post?
By post.
That's exactly what it says.
I'm not sure exactly what the question is, but what we put for direct mail is, and again, what's the important one is your targeted direct mail, just to reiterate it, is mailing to your current database. It's life cycle mail. So as people's that you sold a vehicle to, 30 months ago, and they're on a 36-month lease, you should be hitting them up with a piece 6 months out and targeting that. That is ridiculously important that you're hitting them because those lists are available for sale, and your competition may be hitting them as well. So not sure if that answered your question or not, but
Elmer did write back in, and he says, meaning direct mail being email or by post. I believe Elmer isn't in America. I think he's
okay.
So I think he means should when we do targeted mail, is it better to do it by email or is it better to do it through snail mail?
It's better to do it by both.
What?
Answer your question.
Elmer, I'm sorry, they didn't answer your question.
No, it's better to do it by both, by far.
Okay. Well, he wrote and he said thanks anyway.
Sorry.
All right. Thank you so much, Elmer. It's always fun to have you on. All right. Delisa has the next question. She says, what's your take on monthly retail sale themes?
Monthly retail, themes. So rather than changing it every single solitary month and confusing the people, I believe that's what you're asking. What we try to do is what we call brand tailing, where we will do a branding spot and with our clients, and we don't change the branding spot actually sometimes years and years. But what we do is the monthly theme, we tie it and incorporate the two together. That way you're not losing all the brand identity and all the, the stuff you've built up. So, we recommend, as far as doing a big blowout sale or something like that, only a few times a year, because if you do it every single month, it's less believable. So.
Yeah. And one thing to add to that is, so we do, probably quarterly, especially large groups, we have quarterly large events. But for the individual dealership, again, it comes down to budget and how much you can afford. I think that more and more that we're changing less often. You'll go 2 months with a spot. There's a happy medium when it comes to the retail theme, and maybe monthly's too often anymore. Depends on the size of the market. Again, depends on the brand. But 3 months, a whole quarter of the same campaign's too long. So 2 months is about the max that we recommend the retail message goes.
Okay, Delisa, great question. And by the way, we got some awesome questions still coming in, so thank you so much, audience. We're going to be sticking around as long as we can. Guys, do you have anything to do? Do you have any place to be? Because I still have a lot of quick questions coming in.
I'm good.
For instance, Christy wrote in, she is calling Paul out. She says, I just tried your Facebook link that's on your slide, and it looks like an empty page. Am I doing something wrong?
Shoot me an email if you can, and I will send you the right one. I apologize.
Okay.
It should work. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know either. All right. Next question comes to you from Martin. He says, were you guys able to track how many leads your social media campaign with the gentleman was able to generate?
Yes, and it kind of varies because our software, the manual one, we were seeing about, I want to say 100. I mean, the leads aren't as easy to close, so we're seeing about 100 leads a month with about 10 deals being closed on it. So 10 to 12 on our test market. So, but it's going to vary by store for sure and by market, but it's pretty strong.
All right, thank you so much. And Delisa had a follow-up question. She was the one before that one about the themes. She says those monthly retail sales themes like buyback event or truck sell-a-thon, do you think that it is just unbelievable to consumers?
That's to Tom's point before, is like, and what I was touching on is, it is unbelievable if you're doing it every single solitary month. And it also varies by market, because we've seen it where, for instance, and it surprised the heck out of me, is Omaha. All right, I would have expected Omaha, Nebraska to be very conservative, and aggressive ads were not going to work at all. But in that market, everybody is doing those aggressive ads, and it works. Florida is a perfect example of that. Is every single month there's some super heavy push, but then you get into markets like Denver, Colorado, and you're seeing that or even San Francisco, or the cities, they're not buying it as much. So if you don't do those big events so often, if you do it a few times a year or once a quarter you do something, it is much more believable and will work.
And one other, I want to add to this, because one of the things, first off, they are believable, and one of the things that we come across as advertisers or being in the industry, sometimes we look at it and we're like, well, we have to step back and realize, hey, we're not advertising to ourselves. There's a whole different market and demographic to these people who are believable. And it also depends on how the creative comes together. It is the important aspect of making a believable offer.
And you know what? Bruce wrote in, he has a good point too. He says that most of the themes are based on OEM incentives. So if you're the only one in the area, if you're like the only Chevy dealer, let's say, who's not doing it, then it doesn't make you look that good, does it? So you kind of have to do it.
Yeah, OEM support, I'd like to make a great example here. We had been doing employee pricing for years, and we always had a pretty good response to it, but when GM, as the OEM came out and did employee pricing, it was a home run. So when you get OEM support behind your campaigns, it's always going to be a little bit stronger, but you also need, that you can't alienate your brand. So it's important to have a good marriage between your brand and OEM themes. So.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty now. We still have a handful of great questions coming in, like this one from Martin. He was asking about the giveaway question that we had. The giveaway question, as you'll recall, was video on your website increases time on site by what %? His follow-up question was, what type of video are we talking about? Is it inventory video, an about us video, or just any video?
There's all kinds of video. So yes, I guess I would say it's any type of video.
Yeah.
But we were primarily talking prior to the VDP. So test drive videos, making sure that your monthly spot is on there. About us videos, putting when you have do your specials with special designed landing pages with test drive videos, testimonials, about us, a special retail video, all in the same spot. Give them something to view. And the other thing that I think is important to note is keep all those videos under a minute. Anything when you start getting over a minute, you start to lose people.
And don't be afraid of the quality of the video. I mean, don't make people sick by shaking the camera so much. If you've got the time to produce those videos, should be very easy to do it. Everybody's smartphone has a good enough camera on it now that you can produce it, and most laptops come with good editing stuff. You can produce those yourself. If you've got it in the budget, there are plenty of companies out there inexpensively able to put those videos on your site for you.
And a great example of when to use that video is if you have a really unique used car in stock, doing a special video walk around as opposed to using the Stitch slideshow, and do the special walk around on that particular unit. That's a good example of when to use the smartphone.
Excellent. And just to refresh everyone's memory, that video increases time on site by over 500%. So thank you so much for that. Oh, Martin wrote back in, awesome answer. Thank you so much. Martin, thank you. Okay, next question comes to you from Elmer again. Elmer says, can Tom explain the Cars.com market and Auto Trader market?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With having over 200 dealerships, we're in a number of markets where some markets are more prone to using just Auto Trader or Cars.com, and this is a direct reflection on where Auto Trader and Cars.com has spent their dollars on branding themselves. And it's important to recognize the difference between a third-party branded third-party site and a non-branded third-party site. So we always recommend Cars.com and Auto Trader, but and I'll just speak from one of the examples, like Gainesville, Florida, tends to be a better provider from Cars.com on the new car side than Auto Trader. So we only use Auto Trader for used cars. And just as an example, so it really comes down to how well each one of those third parties branded themselves in the market.
Yeah, in particular, there's Salt Lake City, for example. They have something, I can't remember the name of it, that's not Auto Trader or Cars, but it pretty much is stronger than Auto Trader and Cars. So that's what he means by breaking it out by market.
Well, you have Car Soup in the Midwest.
I love it. All right, Elmer, thank you so much for the great question. He actually has a follow-up question for you guys, and we're he already wrote in, thanks. Elmer has a follow-up question. He says, Paul, why spend so much budget on TV when only half of the audience thinks car ads are credible?
Well, car ads are the trigger. And if you recall that slide that I showed you where we looked at the Google Analytics, and you recall the other slide where the multiple screens are happening on any given time, when they're watching television. You need that trigger to get them to do the research and go on. We have dealers that are 100% digital that do absolutely no traditional whatsoever. And while that was a great philosophy and everything else for the past 5 years, what we're noticing is they've plateaued. And they've dominated online, but everybody else is going online now. And so if you were one of those dealers that was killing it by putting 100% of your budget online and not doing it, then you had a great run. It's time to start dipping your toe back into doing traditional or digital type media, where you're creating that trigger, you're creating that retail ad or the branding ad. So.
Thank you so much. Great question, Elmer. And it's so funny because Bruce wrote in, he says, when you use either of those third-party sites, AutoTrader or Cars.com, aren't we just engaging in a vicious SEO cycle? I mean, is that something Bruce and other dealerships need to just break out of their head, or are we, in fact, in a vicious SEO cycle?
That's a good question. The problem is, I mean, really, if you dealers wanted, if everybody could be united and all just cancel AutoTrader and Cars, you guys can control that. But the problem is you guys are so competitive, everybody's looking for that edge, that's never going to happen. So, yeah, you're feeding the monster by giving him money, but at the same time, it's necessary. Unfortunately.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Bruce wrote in, neither of those two would exist without us. Well,
exactly.
I got to agree with you. All right. Let's get to one of these. We got only 3 questions left, unless somebody else writes another one in. Okay. Paul, perfect question for you. This comes from David. David says, I had a guy who's part of a company that owns TV stations, and he wanted to sell me retargeting, banners, pre-roll, etc. I asked him if they shut down the TV stations, would they still do the internet marketing, basically stating that I wanted to make sure that who we spend money with is a company whose survival depends on doing the internal marketing, doing the internet marketing as their main focus, and it is dirt cheap. Am I wrong to be skeptical of them? My experience is that you get what you pay for. Do you agree?
Actually, that is a great question. One thing, first of all, I applaud you for asking that question. That's a difficult question, like most people don't think about, but you did. Check to see if they're the news leader. If he owns a bunch of the stations and if he is strong and committed to the internet, then you absolutely should be on it, especially if they're the news leader. But make sure you don't overpay. A lot of these guys will go in and drive up their pre-roll video and everything else, their banners or display ads, everything. They expect a ridiculous cost per thousand. And most of them sell that remnant inventory on display networks. Some are starting to take that back, but most of them do sell it. So you usually can buy it through the display network for a lot cheaper than what you're going to pay through them. But if he's a friend of yours and he truly is giving you a very low cost per thousand and he's the news leader, I do recommend carving out a little budget for that.
Yeah, and Paul, that's a great answer, and I want to just expand on that a little bit more. As Paul said, if you're going to buy pre-roll or display from a TV station, you want to be on their site specific. I recommend against using them for your behavioral display across or your paid search strategist across all mediums. You really should be giving those dollars to an automotive specialist. But if it's to buy actual space on that particular site, then yes. But you don't want to. You need automotive is such a different animal. You really need an expert in the auto field to be placing your regular digital plan.
And one more thing to add to that is when you do place it, it depends on where they are, but if weather's a big factor, if it's a seasonal area, definitely advertise on the weather type stuff, because if they're the news leader and you're about to get a hurricane or a blizzard or something like that, you want your ad on there. So when we're buying it local for our dealers up north, we usually start buying it in the fall and getting into the winter, because people are really concerned about, oh, is it going to snow? What's going to happen? Or school closures is another good one, stories like that. So those are the things to stick. Oh, and sports.
Yep, sports. And if you're in a small market, the page where they post mugshots is also a highly viewed page.
You might see Tom on there.
Nice. All right, well, David wrote back and he said, yeah, the guy got really mad when I asked him. And he also said, great answer. He loved your answers, both of you. So thank you so much. Okay, let's see. Emily wrote in, which company would you recommend for geofencing?
Tom, I'm going to let you answer that one.
It really is. It's not really a company that specializes in it. You just need to make sure that whoever's handling your digital your digital solutions is participating in geofencing. It's not really one company that really should just be your digital provider. Whoever's providing you with your current search or SEO strategies or display or retargeting should really be the person handling geofencing.
And if they're not, find one that is.
Yep.
Do you guys handle geofencing?
Well, no. We don't. In the social realm, yes, but we don't really. We're more full service digital content and social. Not so much. We're not really in the paid search and display game outside of content creation.
Got you. Okay, well, Emily already wrote in and said thank you. Last couple of questions your way. Martin says, what CPMs do you recommend for pre-roll? I'll just do it one at a time. What CPMs do you recommend for pre-roll, retargeting, behavioral targeting, mobile, and wallpaper?
Well, they really, pre-roll, we'll start with pre-roll. So pre-roll, we really are looking more in a cost per view type situation at this time, but it's somewhere between 10 to 12 cents per view, and that typically will work out to about $10 to $12 per thousand. So that's whenever it comes down to that's pre-roll. Display, we should be at $3 per thousand or less. So
yeah. And that brings up the point to the question before, is like a lot of the local TV stations are going to sell you display at $10 to $12 per thousand. And that's what you have to watch out for.
Okay. What about behavioral targeting or mobile?
Again, under $3.
Under $3. Okay. And lastly, Martin also says he would like you to comment on network buys at a local level. Good idea?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're talking network
network television, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, network news, absolutely.
Now, it also varies by market, because there's some markets where it's so ridiculously expensive that, like Atlanta, for instance, where it just doesn't make sense. And it's such a huge market that people aren't going to drive from one end of the market to the other to purchase a vehicle. So, again, it's one of those markets by market type basis where you have to really look at your market to see if it makes sense. But if it is affordable, we absolutely recommend it, and we recommend doing the news programs.
And the way that you do it, you have to dominate. So you buy the top rated, or somewhere between the top three, either all of the top three. Sometimes we'll buy the number 2 and number 3 station because number 1's just asking for too much money, and they'll eventually come back and negotiate the rates back down for us. But you take a look at every network, you buy their dominant day part based on news and sports. Stay away from prime. Some access, some areas prime access or late fringe are good areas to be, but prime is just increasingly becoming, just DVR. So you also need to work with an agency that uses live ratings as opposed to including DVR ratings.
Yeah, that's a big one to watch, by the way, is make sure that they're giving you live ratings.
Martin wanted to just make sure. So ESPN, CNN at a local level, those would be good?
Absolutely. Now that's a cable network, not a broadcast network. So cable network, Fox News, ESPN, CNN, those are great areas to be, especially when you're talking import to luxury.
Okay. Do that rather than going through the local news leaders? Martin is asking.
I think, if you have the opportunity, you buy the local news leaders. It really depends on budget. If you can afford, I'd buy the broadcast news first, and then go to the cable broadcasting to help heavy up those day parts. But for the, I would, if you have a strong broadcast news, your ABCs, NBCs, Foxes, start there first if you can afford it, and then go to cable. Now, if you get into a market like Atlanta or Chicago, you typically don't buy the local broadcast because there's just an incredible amount of waste, and you focus on your cable zones.
Yeah, cable is our frequency builder, by the way. We use that. I mean, if you can buy both, we use it to build frequency unless you're in those markets where that'll be your number one priority if broadcast is just out of control.
Well, Martin already wrote in. He said, thank you so much, guys. Last question for you. I know you thought that time would never come. Comes from Bruce. He said, what was the Spark web address again? He wants to know more about Spark, fellas.
Well, it's TrySpark, TrySparq.com. If you could go ahead and type that out for us, I'd appreciate it.
I'll do it right now. Okay, so it is TrySparq.com, right?
Yep.
All right, everyone, there's their link.
And again, we're going to be a digital dealer showing this off, and it's only a 30-second demo. It's really that easy. It's what we've done is we've made the process so easy that it takes your salesperson 2 steps to get it done, and they're out of the picture. So rather than relying on them to friend the person, upload the video, connect their cell to their computer, and go through that whole thing, which sales guys are they're gonna take the path of least resistance and not necessarily do it. So we've actually created it so it's like 2 steps. I mean, less than 30 seconds. So.
All right, I got to close out this webinar. This went way, way long, but you know what? It was awesome. Paul and Tom, thank you so much for such a wonderful, educational, fun, interesting webinar. I really, really appreciate you guys. Fabulous presentation. Audience, don't worry. I got this thing recorded. I'm going to be sending out that link to you in a little bit. Later today, you can also check out that link on dealeron.com/webinars. Click on the link on the right-hand side for on-demand webinars. You can access any of our past webinars and also view and register for any of our upcoming webinars too. And yeah, if you agree with me and that this webinar was the bomb diggity, then I need you to put it into the survey. This survey is going to go out to you in just another minute when I close out the webinar. It's a short survey, 5 questions. But we want to know what you thought about this presentation. So please share your feedback with us. And today we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all the completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. No downside to this. I hope you'll fill out this survey and let us know what you thought. Also want to let you know Dealeron's going to be at the upcoming Digital Dealer 17 convention on September 23, 24, and 25 in Vegas, baby. So stop by our booth 102. Take the opportunity to check out our new responsive website platform, Chameleon. You'll see what the future of dealer websites will look like. You'll learn why Google recommends that your dealership's website be built on a responsive platform. And you can check out the sexiest darn dealer websites you've ever seen. So if you're going to be there, I'm going to be there. Make sure you stop by booth 102. Check out the future of dealership websites. And while you're there, please check out the speaking sessions from 4 of our best and brightest at Dealeron. You don't want to miss it. And yes, As our friends Paul and Tom just told you, our friends at Moore Scarry are also going to be a digital dealer. Please stop and see them at booth 406. Check out that brand new social media app, Spark. What can Spark do for you? It's a proactive reputation management tool that will actually help you sell cars on social. I know, we've been waiting for this. So stop by booth 406 and get yourself that 30-second demo on Spark. And invitations will be going out tomorrow for our next webinar, the Loyalty Marketing Webinar. Dealers who successfully implement a comprehensive loyalty marketing program and reward system will increase customer retention, strengthen the relationship with customers, and create top-of-mind awareness for future purchases. Oh, and they stand to make huge profits too. For instance, a dealership in snowy Minnesota sold an additional 250 units in the month of January, and a dealer group earned an additional $4.6 million in the service drive in just 1 year. What can a powerful loyalty marketing program do for your dealership? Guess what? There's really only one way to find out. In this incredible 1-hour webinar, Micah Burkholtz will discuss how across the country in both big and small markets, organizations are cleaning up with their loyalty marketing programs. You will learn what customer loyalty really is and why some dealerships have true loyal customers while others just have coupon shoppers. Furthermore, he's going to share best practices, innovative ideas, and actionable strategies that will set you up with a comprehensive loyalty marketing program sure to bring swift and dramatic results to your dealership. So if you're ready to learn how to effectively create a loyalty marketing program and successfully launch it in your own store, then you can't afford to miss the Loyalty Marketing Webinar. Don't forget, Dealer-On's weekly webinars are held every Thursday, 12 noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, 9 a.m. Pacific time. And we have some awesome webinar subjects planned for this year, but if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions about these webinars and our topics, contact me directly. Again, my name is Eliana Raggio. I love hearing from you. Track me down online. I'm all over, everywhere, or email me directly at eliana@dealeron.com. Thank you so much for spending this time with us today, and I hope to see you all on a future webinar in our continuing education series. Have yourselves a great one and have a wonderful holiday weekend. Take care.